if they ask if I'm a first-time visitor, I ain't standing up. I'm sorry. I don't want the attention. So hopefully they don't do that. Today we are going to church. Your girl is graduating from Bedside Baptist and I'm going to test out a new church today. I don't really talk much about my spiritual practice on here because Christian social media can be a lot, but I did want to come on and just talk about this because I do share my life and this is something that I'm doing today. And I didn't really stop going to church for any particular reason. I just moved to a new city and I hadn't felt really pressed to find a church home. But my grandma, every single time we talk on Monday, today's Sunday, on Monday, we're gonna talk and I guarantee you she's gonna ask me like, did I go to church? And at first I would really think nothing of it because I do enjoy being a bedside Baptist. I've gotten very comfortable with that. I started to really reminisce on times where I would be in church and I really do like the community. I like to get out the house. I feel like I spend so much time in the house already. And so anything that can get me out the house is great. But I really do enjoy the community and fellowship of, church when it's the right church. And there's one not too far from here that looked cool. So we'll see. I'm just praying I have a good experience. I did, back in a past life, I was a videographer for a church. That feels like forever ago. And I didn't really have a bad experience per se, but the personalities, like the church personalities, and this was a mega church, they can just be so a lot. Like when they have like kind of like church celebrity. Do you know what I mean? If you worked in a church or if you ever went to a mega church, you probably know what I'm talking about. But like it's sometimes certain church personalities that can be like a lot. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I think I also just wasn't fully ready to integrate myself back into that environment. But the church I'm going to today is a mega church, thank God. So hopefully there are none of those like celebrity church personalities. If you know what I'm talking about, please let me know. It's just like a certain ego associated with those kinds of people. That can be a lot, but every church isn't like that. And I had to really remind myself of that as I was starting to, decide to get back into a church. This church actually seems pretty small, which I grew up in a very small church. That's kind of what I'm used to. And I think that's what I prefer. This is also my first time going to church in California. I've only ever been to church down south. And so I have no idea how church is out here. Like, it was actually kind of hard to even find a church. I'm not gonna lie. Like to find a church that I was like, is this a Baptist church? Like, I don't know. And I don't think it's a Baptist church. I think it's not. I don't know what kind of church did I sign up for? I think it is. We will see. Let me see. It's Vive Oakland. There's Black people there, but maybe it's not Baptist. Maybe it's non-denominational. I think they're non-denominational because they're not saying like Baptist, but they talk about Jesus. So I don't know. I don't know anything about anything when it comes to this kind of stuff. So. But yeah, I'm excited to go. I'm excited to leave the house. I did not leave the house at all yesterday. And so it should be good and like to see some new people. Though if they ask if I'm a first-time visitor, I ain't standing up. I'm sorry. I don't want the attention. So hopefully they don't do that. But that's the thing about small churches. Like they know if it's your first time. Sometimes I do like the attention though. Anyway, it's first Sunday, so I'm excited to do communion. That's one thing about being Bedside Baptist. You can't get communion. Actually, I'm sure some churches would ship it out to you or something. I just have not done any of that kind of stuff. Oh, I do need to hurry up because it is close, but it ain't that close to where I can be taking my brush. Mascara and I'm done. When I touch the heavens, I hear I hope the people can sing. That's one thing about going to church down south. Like everybody is so judgy. And everybody is me. I can definitely be judgy on the vocals, so hopefully the music is good. Though that's not why you go to church, I know. I just hope, that I can hear some good singing. Okay, let me get dressed. I have not gone to church in so long. I have no idea what to wear. But I like this headband, so the outfit shall be built around this headband. Okay, this is the outfit that I settled on. I think it's really cute. I hope that they don't have any weird rules about only first ladies can wear white on First Sunday. I really hope they don't have rules like that. Actually, that's giving me anxiety the more I think about it. Okay, let me go before I change my mind. My bag is oaken for it. It's big enough for me to put a little journal in. And then for my scent, I'm going to use Replica Beach Walk by Mason Margiela. Y'all wish me luck. All right, I am back now from church. Y'all, let's just get into it. So let me just pull up a chair. So church was great. Also, I realized you guys couldn't see my shoes earlier, so I wore my loafers with my little socks. Anyway, church I feel like was great. I was very nervous to go in, though, I'm not gonna lie. I called my boyfriend in the parking lot and was just like, I'm so nervous because there was like people outside and I just didn't want to have to walk past people and do the whole thing, you know? And he was like, girl, if you don't get your butt in there and go get some Jesus. That's literally what he said verbatim. And I was like, don't call me girl. And then I went inside. When I went inside, so it is like an event space. They don't have a physical location, which was new for me, like especially going to church in the South. Like I'm just so used to a traditional church environment, but it was actually really cool. It was a really cool space. So you walk in. I got there early is what I learned. I thought church started at 9 and I got there at 9, but it was more like fellowship in the hall kind of time. And then actual service started at 9:30. So I walk in, they had free coffee and tea. I'm like, in this economy in California, don't mind if I do. Beeline straight over there. Got me, but I was very anxious. I was wanting a coffee, but I was very anxious. So I opted for a lemon ginger tea with honey to calm my nerves. As I'm waiting for my tea, someone comes over and is like saying hello. I didn't hear her at first though. And then she kind of like gets in my face a little bit more and is like, hello. And I was like, oh, hey, girl. And we talked for a little bit. Then I see another girl. She's like trying to like ease her way. You know how sometimes like people kind of stand on the outskirts, kind of like wanting you to acknowledge them so that they can join in on the conversation. So that is what this other girl did. And it was her first time too. And then someone else came over on the leadership team and we're all just chatting it up. And also I was really glad that that first person came over and spoke to me because I was feeling very anxious and I think it was very obvious that I was new. Don't mind my Oura ring cover. I'm about to go to the gym right after this and I didn't want to lose it in case you guys are in case you're looking at this. Don't mind my Oura ring cover. Anyway. Matter of fact, let me just take it off. Now I'm insecure about it. I hope I don't forget it when I work out. Anyway. The first girl that came over, she ends up helping us, me and the other new girl, to our seats. And we end up just sitting together. She was like an usher, I guess. So she didn't sit with us, but we sat next to each other. And it was really nice to have somebody to enjoy the service with. I also don't do a ton of things by myself. And this experience made me want to start doing more things by myself because the anxiety I felt was just like, I just felt so uncomfortable being by myself and I want to feel more comfortable in situations like that. But anyway, we sit down on our seats. Church is starting. They had communion on our seat, which I had never seen that before. Normally, like in my church, my old church's communion will be passed around. And they got started with worship. The songs they were doing were songs I've like heard on like when I type in like Maverick City Music radio or Elevation Worship radio, like that kind of music. Which I like, you know, it's just, that was my first time going to a church like with that kind of music. It was good. The singing was great. I know earlier I said I was worried about the singing. The baby girl on that guitar, she sang amazing. Loved everything she was doing. The praise team, great. We do communion during the worship part of the service, which I've never done before. I've always done communion at the end of service. So that kind of took me by surprise a little bit. And also the way it was done was just a little bit different than the way I was used to. Like and maybe this is just like showing, you know, my upbringing, but it's always so serious communion. And it's done at the end of the church. And that's how you kind of know like church is about to be over with. Like that's the thing you've been waiting for this whole time. And the way my church would do it, like they would turn the lights down and start singing, I know it was the blood. I know it was the blood. And then everybody's getting hyped like, I know it was the blood. But this was different. It wasn't like that. Nothing was wrong with how they did it. It was just a completely different experience. Then the pastor comes and like, and like the way my church would do it, they would have like men in like white gloves and you have to walk around and pick up your communion. At the mega church I was at, they just passed around the communion, but at my small church I was raised in, communion was like a very big deal. And so there was like a little bit of a lightness to how they approached communion, which was just interesting. It was new to experience that. Then we had a little bit more worship and then we got into the word. Now, I'm not gonna lie, before the word, I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to come back here again. But when Miss Ma'am started preaching, yes, I said Miss, when Miss Abby Johnson started preaching, I felt like I was catching so many strays. It was like, doo, 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 doo. Like, I felt like I was catching so many strays. I literally wrote that down. I grabbed my journal. I think what I'm going to start doing, too, is, because I'm definitely going to be going back to this church, or at least going to some church, and I'll tell you why in a second. I'm going to take the notes that I write and then put them in my Notion template. I'm going to make like a little Notion template for everything that I write in my notebook, just to have a way to be able to reference it more easily. But yes, her sermon was titled Humble Brag, and it was all around pride. And this past week, I've just been really struggling with some issues around pride, and feeling like I need to show up in a certain way that is not sustainable for me. And when I say, like, she touched every single thing on the head and it was all backed in the word, I felt so convicted being there. And the reason I said that I really want to continue going to church, whether it's this church or if I find another church, my friend invited me to one of her churches, so I'm excited to try that church out next. I felt like I was more focused on the word being there in person versus watching an online sermon. I do feel like I'm focused, but it's still something about just being there in the presence and you have no other distractions. Like sometimes I'll have a sermon on Sunday morning and I'll be like cleaning up while I'm listening to it, just like not giving it my full attention. And I feel like going to church, I was so immersed into everything she was saying. I also really liked I really like the structure that going to church on Sunday provides. It gives me something to get out the house for. I pretty much work from home outside of teaching my classes. And so it was just nice to be able to get out the house and see someone other than my boyfriend. But yes, the word was so good. I mean, I took pages and pages of notes. Like my notes start on this page and go to that page. Like, it was just so good. And I could have taken more notes. Something that she said that really stuck out to me was just that pride reveals the areas that we have not fully come to submit under God. And it made me realize I definitely have trouble with submission in lots of areas in my life. But she was basically saying that when we don't submit certain things over to God and we use our pride to sustain them, basically we are left to sustain those things. And then the things that we give over to God, like it's on God to sustain them. And there's just something that I'm really wanting right now that I have, I think, been trying to make within my own power. And this sermon really spoke to me to just give it over to God, submit this over to God, and let what will be, and stop trying to work it for my own power. But yeah, it was so good. I can't wait to write these up on Notion tonight and reflect on it even more. She shared so many scriptures. I've been trying to study my Bible more, but I feel a little bit confused on how to do that. I've been looking up certain plans, but none of it feels right. But what I'm going to do is take all the scriptures that she listed. She gave us like so many scriptures, like 7, I think. So I'm going to look at each one of those scriptures throughout the week and let it just digest into my system and pray on them and just really let this message sink in, because I think it was so for me. And I just love when things like that happen, you know? Like, I think that's the purpose of church. You go, you get convicted, and then you try to implement those things into your life. Oh, something else she said that was really good. She was saying, like, humility is not a personality trait. It's not something, you know, that like, oh, that person, she's so humble. He's so humble. It's like humility is a practice. And I've never heard that before, thinking of humility as a practice. But I think that's such a helpful way to approach humility. So it can be a thing that we're continually striving for. She said, like, we put on humility like a cloak of arms. Like, it's something you have to put on. It's not It's not something you're born with. It's a day-to-day practice. Overall, I had a great experience at church today, and I will definitely be at, if not this church, somebody's church this weekend.